Hey everybody, I'm here with a quick video on Sharay Hayes. Sharay Hayes is one of the former escorts that participated in the Diddy and Cassie freak-offs. He testified last week on the stand during the Diddy's trial, and the trial is still currently going on. Now, Sharay Hayes, aka known as the Punisher, he spoke to CNN. He did an interview with them yesterday. And during that interview, the interviewer asked him, pretty much like, if you could say anything to Cassie, what would you say? And he said he would say sorry for his participation in the freak-offs, not having a true understanding that she was a victim, according to Cassie, versus a willing participant, just wanting to have a show for her and her mate. Now, listen, guys, do I think anything is wrong with the interview? Absolutely not. I think my problem with the interview is the timing. I really feel like this judge should have put a gag order on every single witness that came through on that stand. You cannot talk until after this trial, after we get a verdict. Then you could go interview with anybody and anybody. But while the trial is still going on, I feel like they should have had a gag order. In addition to that, I will say it again, this jury should have been sequestered. Now, I'll address one more thing before we get into the actual interview. Many people are commenting in my videos, Diva, you're on the wrong side of the law. And I was like, what? I'm on the wrong side of the law. When it comes to this Diddy trial, I'm on the wrong side of the law. So my thoughts and my opinions puts me on the wrong side of the law, and you're disappointed in me when you should be disappointed in all the people that participated and shut their mouth and never said nothing and allowed this man, according to them, to terrorize people for decades. That's who you should be disappointed with, and that's who's on the wrong side of the law. The Southern District of New York is not looking for Diva because I ain't got no information, because I can break no laws. My opinion on this thing is my opinion on this thing. And here's the thing, just because we don't agree, don't mean I'm on the wrong side of the law. My position in this thing, because I have to say it 1,000 times, I ain't got no dog in this fight. But if you want to believe that the prosecution is doing a slam dunk performance, then I'm not mad at you. But because I don't believe that they're doing a slam dunk performance, doesn't put me on the wrong side of the law. Actually, I'm very clear on the law. I got family that is police department. I know lawyers. So wrong side of the law? No, Diva's in the middle ground here. I'm calling what I see when I see it. And if you can't tell that all of these witnesses that got on the stand got holes in their story, and I'm going to tell you, sometimes when I say stuff on my channel, it don't catch up until later with the people. It don't, and I'm okay with that. But I stand my ground. I'm telling you why these people, their stories have holes in it, because they're rewriting history. And when they rewrite it, they conveniently leave out the part where they was a part of the criminal activity and all of them wasn't coerced. They leave out the part where all of them was participating in the drinking, the drugging, and all of them was not forced. Some of them was picking up prescriptions and sharing their prescriptions. And you should not be sharing your prescription medication that the doctor wrote for you on their blue script. It's for you and only you. And even if you got somebody else that's taking that same medication, it don't mean that they on the same dose. So no, Diva's not on the wrong side of the law. You want the wrong side of the law, you better speak to some of them people that was in the Diddy orbit doing what they did, and now they want to look back and rewrite history. I'm not rewriting history. When I do my commentary on this channel, it's the words that come out of their mouth. It's an article. Diva don't put 20 on 10. I'm not making up nothing, but I do give you my opinion on what I hear. So no, I appreciate y'all. But if you ever notice, I never, ever, ever on my channel black out on the people who think differently than me. I just tell you my thoughts and my theory. But anywho, Diva's going to carry on because I got to be me and I got to do me. And no, I do not feel I'm on the wrong side of the law, because no law enforcement is looking for Diva. I'm just telling y'all how I feel, and I'm gonna stand by that. I feel that these people should have had gag orders. I'm gonna stand by. I feel the judge should have sequestered this jury. If you want to say that a person, you getting a jury on my peers, and you want me to have a fair trial, so at the end, when the verdict comes, there'll be no crying, there'll be no can I get a retrial, there'll be no mistrial. Then you need to do things straight and in order. People are coming out, the prosecution witnesses, not Diva, the prosecution witnesses are coming out talking about, I don't know why I was there. If you notice, every witness that got on that stand, they're telling us a Cassie story that is connected to the abuse. I told you 1,000 times that yes, the defense team checked, the prosecution checked that box about the abuse, but we're here for racketeering. We're here for RICO. And when you want to say somebody's been terrorizing the world for 2 decades, at the very least, but every time somebody getting this on the stand, they only talking about a Cassie story. For me, Houston, we got a problem. It's not about Diva being on the right or the wrong side of the law. I'm listening and reading the notes to this trial. But anyway, let's get into this right here, because this is about the Punisher speaking to CNN and apologizing to Cassie. So let's share the screen and take a listen. Hold on one second.
To give an uncensored look inside Diddy's freak-offs. In 2012, the exotic dancer allegedly received a call from a woman requesting a striptease for someone named Janet, aka Cassie Ventura, and her friends. Hayes says he believes Cassie found him through his getpunished.com website. And at their first meeting, Hayes said Cassie told him her and her husband liked to create a sexy scene, one that her husband would eventually come out to watch. And during that first encounter, Diddy allegedly gave mostly subtle directions. The compensation for that rendezvous, $2,000. Under cross-examination, Hayes testified that Cassie did not appear uncomfortable during their encounters. He, quote, did not get any cues that there was a discomfort with what was going on over the 8 to 12 interactions they all had. Sharay said, the Punisher, Hayes, joins me now, and he's also the author of In Search of Freezer Meat. He joins us now. Sharay, welcome. It's been a week since you testified. First of all, I'm just wondering what the reaction has been like in your life, knowing that this is such a high-profile case, and here you are in the spotlight in this way.
Yeah, it's been like a whirlwind. A constant outreach from media outlets like this, and just friends and family, people from junior high school actually reaching out just randomly, to check in and speak up. It's been a very interesting, trying week.
You've reflected, I think, in some time about what your testimony said and what it was like in that courtroom. Can you tell me a little bit what it was like to be on that stand a few feet away from Sean Diddy Combs, who you obviously had been around before in these sexual encounters, but he was more of a voyeur at those times. What was it like being in the room in the courtroom?
Yeah, so I have to say, I thought going into it, I was pretty prepared and confident, but literally when I walked in the room, I got complete anxiety. Like my entire body was shaking. Whatever I envisioned or what I thought, because obviously you can't see anything, it was the tension and the magnitude of the moment was much, much deeper. So it was to some degree terrifying. Like I just could not, whatever I envisioned, it was just so much more that I was not mentally prepared.
You know, I mentioned that he was a voyeur during the sexual encounters. You were involved with Cassie Ventura directly in those rooms, as you've testified. Were you ever involved with Sean Diddy Combs? Did you two ever have an interaction in those sexual encounters?
No, actually, not one conversation, not even eye contact.
Really?
Yeah.
Did that surprise you?
Well, it was told to me immediately, like on the first encounter, that I was instructed to not look at him, not acknowledge him, not have any interactions with
by Cassie.
Yeah, by Cassie. So those were the instructions. So I did my best to follow them to the best of my ability, because initially I did not know who they were, and so I just saw it as an opportunity. I see this stunningly beautiful woman, and $2,000 for this type of interaction was kind of like a no-brainer in terms of it. So I wanted to follow the directions as much as possible. So there was literally no interaction, I didn't even look directly at him.
Because normally you are a dancer, and this was an interaction that would have resulted in sexual intercourse.
Exactly. So
Okay.
yeah, so this is nuance. It's not something that happens. You know, I've done thousands of parties. This is the only time I was propositioned with something like this, and it was in such magnitude. Like we're in a Trump hotel, it's like these huge suites, and you can tell this is a very high profile couple. So I just wanted to be as professional for the scenario as I would assume was required.
Did you ever travel outside of New York with them?
I did not.
When you were engaged in this encounter and intimate with Cassie Ventura, as you've said on the stand, you were asked about whether you had any notice or any idea how she felt about the interaction, whether she was consenting, whether she was uncomfortable in any way. You testified you did not feel as though she was uncomfortable at all. Can you explain?
Yeah, so there was always, like, before the sexual activity, there was always like downtime. So I would be greeted by Cassie, kind of put in a room, and we would have casual conversation. You know,
About how long did that last?
10, 15 minutes, you know, and it would be, you know, consistent. How's work going? How's the parties? How's things? So it seemed like a very cordial, laid back situation. And I actually believed that the scenario was real. It was like her birthday. This was something they were doing as a couple that wasn't normal. I mean, that wasn't their norm. And I honestly thought I was the only person they were engaging with. So I had almost a belief that I was, wow, like this is a cool thing. Like I'm the person they're choosing for this kind of fetish type of environment. And
Nothing seemed illegal to you or anything out of sorts?
Not even close. Like I didn't even get any thought of anybody being like under the influence of any drugs or anything. It seems like a very, for the circumstance, everybody was just normally in their right state of mind. And this was just something they did for sexual pleasure.
You never saw any violence?
Nothing close.
You know, interestingly, you say you haven't seen any violence, you didn't see anyone under the influence of drugs, and you didn't have any idea that she was not consenting in some way. Why do you think you were called to testify?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Like it's
Really?
after the fact. I'm the only thing that I can kind of maybe think is, you know, there was directions, right? It was in my testimony. It was clear that it was him, I guess, somewhat in control. You know, not
so?
overbearingly. I mean, it was said to me this scene we were creating was for her husband, aka him. So the only thing I can say is maybe they were trying to show another element of control. And even though in my case it wasn't forceful or aggressive, but it's still another dynamic that maybe they were trying to establish.
Did you ever see cameras or anything being filmed?
I did not. The rooms were always extremely dim and dark, just candlelit. So it was, if there were cameras, it would have to be some sort of infrared low light scenario because it was very dark in there.
Who paid you?
Always Cassie.
Did you ever see where the money came from?
I did not. Only one time, like I said in my testimony, we were actually engaging in sexual activity, and he threw a stack of $100 bills on the bed that Cassie turned to him and asked him was everything was fine. And he just said, I'm enjoying it, in so many words. And I know that money was collected after the fact and given to me. So that would be the only scenario where I guess money came directly from him by way of, you know, slamming it on the bed, like almost like how somebody would do at like at a strip club.
How, when you've reflected back on your testimony, do you think that your testimony was helpful to the prosecution or the defense in any way?
I mean, going into it, I always thought that because I saw no violence or any outward aggression, I always wondered if this was more beneficial to the defense. But I don't understand the angle of how they're trying to take my testimony and connect it to what they're trying to prove. You know, it's very nuanced what constitutes a RICO and racketeering. And I don't know enough yet. I haven't heard enough to see if my testimony aligns with what they're trying to prove.
One thing that Cassie said on the stand was that she wanted Diddy to know that people were not disposable. And it almost sounded like she was talking collectively about everyone involved in these sexual encounters and these so-called freak-offs. Did you yourself ever feel as though you were either disposable or that you yourself were being trafficked in some way or prostituted?
No, not trafficked in some way or whatever. There was always pressure in terms of being disposable because obviously I'm there to create something like a scene, to create an environment. So at times where there was sexual pressure, you know, because it's out of my norm, I did have a feeling of, okay, I'm one, you know, scenario where if I don't perform the right way, if I don't create the right ambiance, then maybe I won't get called back. But that's the most pressure that I had. There was no indication of I really believe they were just a happy couple, and this was a sexual fetish that they had.
Do you ever see them be affectionate during these freak offs together?
I did not. They would never actually interact in front of me. There was like kind of a cue where if he needed to speak to her or have some sort of direction with her, he would just stand up and leave the room. And if she saw that, she would follow him out. They would be gone 5-10 minutes. Then she'll come back and we'll resume for the most part. But no interaction in front of me. No even conversation other than his directions, which were subtle: move the light, turn your body, maybe put more oil. Those type of gestures in communication.
You said you wanted to, after your testimony, feel at peace with what you've said. Knowing what you do now about what Cassie Ventura has said about how she's felt about these freak offs, what would you say to her if you could?
I would apologize. I would apologize because I had no idea, no indication what she was going through. And if, you know, obviously my involvement kind of furthered her suffering, you know, so just me knowing that as a man, you know, being raised by a single mom and a grandma, you know, just the thought of partaking in a scenario where a woman is possibly being abused is tough to hear. So, you know, I would just apologize to her and, you know, tell her that I was really remorseful and regret if I contributed to a bad experience for her.
Again, him speaking, you know, ahead of time and before this verdict comes in, he reiterates and he helps. This is a prosecution witness. He helps the defense even in this interview. I never saw violence. I had conversations with her before. Remember, they said these were drug-filled freak-offs. And y'all mad at me? They're the ones talking. But let me get into this. Exotic male dancer, the Punisher, apologizes to Cassie. Sorry for the Diddy freak-offs. Sharay Hayes, an exotic male dancer known as the Punisher, is apologizing to Cassie Ventura for his role in some sexual encounters with Diddy. The Punisher went on CNN and said he's sorry to Cassie for any suffering he may have caused her, explaining at the time he had no idea or indication that she was having a bad experience. Hayes testified in the Diddy criminal trial about his sole role in the freak-offs with Diddy and Cassie, and he told us he didn't see Diddy do anything that seemed illegal. But after learning Cassie told jurors she had been blackmailed and threatened to participate in freak-offs, he offered up his apology. The Punisher says it's tough to think he played a role in a situation where a woman was possibly being abused, especially as a man raised by a single mother and a grandmother. And that's his book he wrote, In Search of the Freezer Meat. He talks about his erectile dysfunction in that book. Hayes even wrote a book about his 30-year career as a top-tier exotic dancer, including several passages referencing his experiences with Diddy and Cassie. And he said he's remorseful and regretful for any contributions he may have had to a bad experience for Cassie. Listen, guys, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Everybody, thanks for watching. I will put, right now, I'm putting my money down on this. It's a circus. They might as well out there in front of that courthouse, bring the popcorn stands, the cotton candy, the flashing lights. You know, a long time ago when I was growing up, the circus used to come to town every year. This is a circus. He's out here talking, adding more content to his testimony. And again, everything is helping the defense. Messy boots. Anyway, guys, chat with me. I'll chat back. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Let me know your thoughts.